Your word is not in vain. Our hearts reaching heavenward. Fresh outpouring, tear the fabric open. Come, Jesus, come. Breath of heaven, nothing left unshaken. We long for more. We need a fresh outpouring. Unleash a fresh outpouring. We need a fresh outpouring. Unleash a fresh outpouring. As temporary fades, let glory invade this earth. Your power on display. Our eyes are looking heavenward. Fresh outpouring, tear the fabric open. Come, Jesus, come. Breath of heaven, nothing left unshaken. We long for more. fabric open. Come, Jesus, come, breath of heaven, nothing left unshaken. We long for more. We need a fresh outpouring. Unleash a fresh outpouring. We need a fresh outpouring. We need a fresh outpouring. I see the evidence of your goodness all over my life, all over my life. I gotta stand up and sing this song. I see the evidence of your goodness all over my life, all over my life. Sing it again. I see the evidence of your goodness all over my life, all over my life. I see the promises in fulfillment all over my life, all over my life. All throughout my history, your faithfulness has walked beside me. The winter storms made way for spring. In every season, from where I'm standing, I see the evidence of your goodness all over my life, all over my life. And I see the promises in fulfillment all over my life, all over my life. Help me remember when I'm weak. My fear may come, but fear will leave. You lead my heart to victory. You are my strength, and you always will be. I see the evidence of your goodness all over my life, all over my life. I see the promises and fulfillment all over my life, all over my life. I see the evidence of your goodness all over my life, all over my life. I see your promises and fulfillment all over over my life, all over my life. I see the promises in fulfillment all over my life, all over my life. Wake up like feeling like really, really good this morning. I didn't sleep at all last night, but I feel really good this morning. I don't know why. I know why. I know why I feel good this morning. I don't know why I didn't sleep last night, but I know why I feel good this morning. Lamb who was slain, holy, holy is He. Sing a new song to Him who sits on heaven's mercy seat. Worthy is the Lamb who was slain, holy, holy is He. Sing a new song to Him who sits on heaven's mercy seat. Holy, holy, holy is the Lord God Almighty, who was and is to come. With all creation I sing praise to the King of Kings. You are my everything, and I will adore you. Flashes of lightning, rolls of thunder. so good. You're so good. Light a flame, Jesus. Be my everything. 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 My everything. You are everything. You're my 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 everything. Oh, you're my everything. You're my everything. You're my everything. Holy, holy, holy is the Lord God Almighty, who was and is to come. With all I'll sing praise to the King of Kings. Can you imagine just seeing the face of Jesus? Just feel like it'd be so bright, just be overpowering. Wouldn't even know what to say. The angels are just saying, holy, holy, holy. I feel like that's all we could say. If we could even utter that. Just close your eyes and just imagine that you're just at the feet of Jesus, and that's all you can get out is holy, holy, holy. Holy, holy, holy. Holy, holy, holy. Holy, holy, holy is the Lord God Almighty, who was and is to come. Holy, 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 Lord God Almighty, who was and is to come. Holy, 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 Lord Almighty, who was and is to come. Holy, holy, holy is the Lord God Almighty, who was and is to come. Be my everything. Be my everything. Be my everything. I used to hate that word, submission. Submission is something that a weak person does. Submission is something that a powerful person does. You have to have power to submit. And you have to submit to the right person. Because he's not going to make think you submit to anything other than His will. His will is good. And when you don't think you got any power, He gives strength to the powerless. You don't have to do it in your own strength, because we really don't have any strength. We suck. He gives us power. So just step out of the boat. Just take that leap of faith. Because He's going to catch you. He's going to catch you.
Last week we talked about God, Jesus being 100% God and 100% man. I think you can think of it like this. Y'all seen that before. The cross is the bridge between God and man. Jesus is that bridge. You might think that He's sort of man on one side, and maybe gradations toward God on the other, and that's not true. He's 100% God and 100% man. He's both. So as man interacts with Jesus, there's room for offense there where you are confronted with His Godhead. We're going to see some of that in Scripture where men come up in confrontation with Jesus, and there's an offense there. And you may in your mind also think, well, how can man stand before God? And that's the other part of it, that Jesus, by taking on humanity, actually elevates humanity to be before God. And so He's this perfect bridge. We're going to talk about that a little bit. We're going to talk about this other side of the coin, this 100% God part of it. We talked about 100% man last time. So the divinity of Christ is our conversation today. We're going to continue on the conversation. By the way, 1 Corinthians 15:45. If you want to write that down or remember it. You asked the question last week about Jesus being, whether or not He had original sin. And I talked about Him being the second Adam. That's where that verse is, 1 Corinthians 15:45. We looked at that this morning.
Thank you.
Before we dive into this topic, does anybody have a testimony or a story or want to give thanks publicly for something that God's doing in their life? Go ahead, Greg.
So far, since this whole COVID thing has started, so far there's been 2 known cases that have been around, and in both instances, one for a couple of days and one for several hours, and I didn't catch COVID. I can only thank God that I didn't catch COVID.
Good.
I think it's awesome how God has blessed our church. You know, we thought we were in turmoil when John left us, and God has done nothing but bless us and keep us going, and lifted the burden from us and from me and from, it's just amazing. I think it's beautiful.
Here's
Here.
a little buzz.
That's loud.
I agree. He's able to keep us, isn't he? It's not hard for him. Anybody else?
I just want to say, y'all don't know me, I'm Rhonda, and, I do suffer from drug addiction, and, I was veering off back into that, ugly, dark place for a little while, but God seemed fit for me to get into the arms of mercy last week and try to get my life back going on track, and I'm really on fire for recovery in Jesus right now,
Awesome.
so feeling a lot better.
Thank you for sharing that.
Thank
Rhonda.
you.
Okay, I just wanted to make room for that. I didn't have any agenda on that. Thank you guys for sharing. All right, we're going to dive in. When you read about the story of Jesus, by the way, guys, I'm super stoked to talk about Jesus. He happens to be one of my favorite people, subjects, fascinations, obsessions. When Jesus came, people didn't recognize him as God. We're talking about Jesus as God. Jesus is 100% God. We're talking about his divinity. You would think, like, if God came to earth, the mountains would melt away, and there, instantly everyone's sins would be revealed in judgment, and we'd all be like, oh my goodness, and thrown into we think of the Old Testament God showing up and just crazy, screaming, terrifying. Jesus shows up as a baby. What? God comes to earth as a child and grows up and doesn't give himself all of the... We think of him, I think, as like a superhero. He didn't come as a superhero. He came fully into humanity and put on flesh. And that's what we talked about last week. So he didn't cheat. He didn't come and say... He didn't come and just sort of shield himself from the pain and the suffering and the sorrow and the anguish of human life. He actually lived in it and felt all of it. And so that's part of why no one recognized that he was God. And when the Jews saw him, not only did they not recognize him as God, when he said things, we're going to read some of these verses, when he said things that seemed to indicate that he was God, they get really upset about that. So the world didn't recognize Jesus as God. And the disciples, those who knew him best, often did not recognize him as God. Some of them got it. Most of them didn't. Right? And even 2,000 years later, when we talk about him, I think even we have the divinity of Christ a little bit confused. And we're going to get into that. But first I want to ask, why? Why is it that no one seems to recognize that Jesus is God, the divinity of Christ? And I have a theory, I have a thought for you. I'll submit to you. To recognize the divinity of Christ, we first have to recognize the character of God. If you're going to look at somebody and find out whether or not God's in them, you have to know what God's like. You say, oh, I recognize God because I know God. I see that in him. So I guess my second question is, and I'll leave this one open for you guys to answer. What is God like? What is God like? Welcome to class. Question 1. What is God like? Hello, Christians. What's God like?
Forgiving.
Forgiving. An important one.
Merciful.
Merciful.
All-knowing.
Loving.
Patient?
Real patient.
Real patient. Faithful.
You want to go to Galatians and just read it off to you?
If you know my heart, omnipotent.
No.
This is kind of funny because of the song we just sang.
Holy, that's right.
Yeah, that's the other category.
Holy.
Holy, holy. Anybody know why? Holy, holy, holy. 3. Do you know why? You know why, don't you?
I do know.
You don't know why?
In threes?
In 3s.
No.
Trinity.
In Hebrew, they didn't have the word very. I say very holy.
I've said 3 times, that would be enough.
You're wearing a red shirt is how the Hebrews would say it. You know, it's very red. You know, or it's, you know, if it's hot outside, you might say it's hot. Well, God is not just holy, holy. He's holy, holy, holy. So it's the utmost of holy. What does holy mean, by the way?
Set apart.
Set apart. Other than. Yeah. Consecrated. There's another word we just like, what does that even mean? Consecrated. Prepared for service. Sacred. Not to be violated. To be kept whole. It's this idea of can't touch it. It's sacred. It's set apart. It's holy. In the Old Testament, God dwelt in the Holy of Holies. So it's the room within the room where he was between the wings of the cherubim on the Ark of the Covenant, right? And no one could go in there except for once a year, and only one guy. And if he messed it up, he would die by doing it.
They tied a rope to him, right?
They tied a rope to him with bells in case he messed it up.
Drag him out.
Holy, holy, holy. Right? That's what we're talking about. Holy, set apart. And what's love? Someone tell me what love is. That's a complicated. There's a real problem right there with love. What's love?
Love is like honesty.
Okay. Honesty.
Yeah. Truth.
Truth.
Loyalty.
Truth. We got some good words to add here. Loyalty. What did God say about love? What does Scripture say about love? No man has greater love than this.
And he that laid his life down for the world.
He laid his life down for his friends.
Sacrifice.
Self-sacrificing. God is love. Love is intimacy. It's a deep knowledge that you share with someone. And the willingness to set yourself aside for them and to prefer their best over your own is love. So there's a real problem there. How can God be self-sacrificing? What's he going to do? Get off the throne and die?
He forgives us. Is what he does for us.
Yeah. Is he going to set himself aside for other people? He's God. There's kind of a tension there, right? When we think about God, it's like, how can God fully express the idea of love as God the Father on the throne, exalted? How's he supposed to go low?
Send his only son.
Yeah, in his Son. So part of the divinity of Christ is the expression of God's character in flesh. So when God wants to demonstrate going low, he went all the way low through his Son, as himself through his Son. There's a tension between these ideas. This is close together, intimate, and that is far apart, set apart, not intimate, holy, right, sacred. And you know, I see that in the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, that's family. That's you and me. We got the same dad. We're brother and sister. We're in a family loving relationship. Our Father, who art in heaven, and holy is his name. All right? The immediate separation. Intimacy, separation. Those are the two characteristics of God. Love. He wants intimacy, but he's holy. So there's a real problem with people who aren't holy. How are they going to ever be reconciled and intimate with God who is holy? There's a real problem there. And I think we all know in the room that Jesus is the answer to that. Right? But I want you to understand that these characteristics of God are how the divinity of Christ, how God and his divinity is being displayed through Christ. So that's what I want to focus on this morning. Those two ideas. So let's dive in. As always, we're going to read a ton of scriptures because I love it. And you're coming with me, kicking and screaming. We're going to start in Exodus. Ooh, Old Testament. What's the Old Testament God like? Y'all remember this way back years ago when we started the Old Testament study? Was anybody there for that? And we asked, what's God of the Old Testament like?
He's mean.
He's mean. He's a monster, right? He's horrible, right? And that's what everybody thinks.
Savage.
And everybody's wrong. Here's what God says about himself in the Old Testament. Exodus chapter 33, verse 12. Some things have happened before this, like all the plagues and escaping Egypt and the first attempt at the law, and a whole bunch of people died. So it's been pretty rough. All right, 33:12. One day Moses said to the Lord, "You have been telling me, take these people up to the promised land." So they're still in the desert at this point. "But you haven't told me whom you will send with me. You've told me, I know you by name and I look favorably on you. And if that is true, that you look favorably on me, let me know your ways so I may understand you more fully and continue to enjoy your favor. And remember that this nation is your very own people." And the Lord replied, "I will personally go with you, Moses, and I will give you rest. Everything will be fine for you." Then Moses said, "If you don't go personally with us, don't make us leave this place. How will anyone know that you look favorably on me?" Here's Moses trying to get God to love his people and not just him. "Favorably on me and your people, if you don't go with us. For your presence among us sets your people and me apart from all other people on the earth." The Lord replied to Moses, "I will indeed do what you have asked, for I look favorably on you." Doesn't mention his people, just you. I think there's some real comedy going on there. "And I know you by name." Moses responded, "Then show me your glorious presence." All right, y'all ready? This is where we're going to see what God is like. The Lord replied, "I will make all my goodness pass before you, and I will call out my name Yahweh before you, for I will show mercy to anyone I choose, and I will show compassion to anyone I choose. But you may not look directly at my face, for no one may see me." There's holiness, by the way. You can't look at my face. No one can see me and live. That's holiness. He's set apart. He's sacred. You can't even look at him. All right? That's holy. "You may not look directly at my face, for no one may see me and live." The Lord continued, "Look, stand near me on this rock. As my glorious presence passes by, I will hide you in the crevice of the rock and cover you with my hand until I have passed by. Then I will remove my hand and let you see me from behind, but my face will not be seen." So I imagine that Moses is in the cleft of this rock and God's entire hand is covering it up. So I kind of think of God as, huge as he does this through the desert. Well, that's kind of just the image I have in my head. Don't know if that helps anyone, but he's going to put him up on the cleft of the rock, put his hand over so that he can't see his face, and pass by. And as he's passing by, he's going to declare his own character. So here's your answer of what God's like, the God of the Old Testament, as though that were a different God. Here's your answer of what the God of the Old Testament is like. The Lord told Moses, "Chisel out 2 stone tablets like the first ones. I will write on them the same words that were on the tablets you smashed. Be ready in the morning to climb up Mount Sinai and present yourself to me on top of the mountain. No one else may come with you. In fact, no one is to appear anywhere on the mountain. Do not even let the flocks or herds graze near the mountain." Again, holiness. So Moses chiseled out 2 tablets of stone like the first ones. Early in the morning, he climbed Mount Sinai as the Lord had commanded him, and he carried the 2 stone tablets in his hands. Then the Lord came down in a cloud and stood there with him. I don't know why he rides on clouds, but that seems what he does. He called out his name, Yahweh. The Lord passed in front of Moses, calling out, "Yahweh, the Lord, the God of compassion and mercy. I am slow to anger and filled with unfailing love and faithfulness." What? Shouldn't it be I'm filled with wrath and judgment and justice? I'm filled with unfailing love and faithfulness. I lavish unfailing love to 1,000 generations. I forgive iniquity, rebellion, and sin. But I do not excuse the guilty. I lay the sins of the parents upon their children and grandchildren. The entire family is affected, even children in the third and fourth generations. In fact, ultimately, he laid all the sins of all mankind upon one man. Moses immediately threw himself to the ground and worshipped. What's the character of God? What is God like? He's holy, and he's filled with mercy and kindness and unfailing love. And he lavishes unfailing love for 1,000 generations. That's what God is. All right, so those two go somehow hand in hand in the character of God, in the person of God. And we're going to see that. That's, when you look at Jesus and you're wondering, where's the godliness in him? Where is the divinity in him? It's not all the miracles. You know, the miracles are done by the Holy Spirit through him as a man. That's not where you see the divinity. It's not in the miracles. It's in the holiness and the love. It's in the character. God displays himself through the character of Jesus, and that's where you see his divinity. All right, let's look to another scripture. John chapter 1. New Testament. I think we read this last time. In the beginning, the Word already existed. Who is the Word?
Jesus.
So,
God.
if he's a man like you and me, right? He didn't pre-exist, right? And so this is speaking into the divinity of Jesus, just pointing it out. In the beginning, I want to give you guys scriptures to stand on that tell you about the divinity of Jesus, the same way that I gave you scriptures last week about the humanity of Jesus. It's very important to understand both. In the beginning, the Word already existed. The Word was with God, and the Word was God. Jesus was with God, and Jesus was God. Wait, is God one or two or three, or a Trinity, or a doublet with the Holy Spirit mixed in, or what? There have been so many theories throughout the ages. I'm just going to tell you, there's a lot of mystery here. I don't claim to understand or have figured out. I just want to read what God says about himself. Jesus was with God, and Jesus was God. And he's with God in the beginning. He existed in the beginning with God. God created everything through Jesus, and nothing that was created except through Jesus. Jesus gave life to everything that was created, and his life brought light to everyone. And the light shines in the darkness, and the darkness can never extinguish it. God sent a man, John the Baptist, to tell about the light, so that everyone might believe because of his testimony. John himself was not the light. He was simply a witness to tell about the light. The one who is the true light, who gives light to everyone who is coming into the world, he came into the world, he created, but the world didn't recognize him. He came to his own people, and even they rejected him. But to all who believed in him and accepted him, he gave the right to become children of God. They are reborn not with a physical birth resulting from human passion or Planned Parenthood, but a birth that comes from God. So the Word became human. Jesus became human and made his home among us. Emmanuel, God with us. He was full of unfailing love and faithfulness. So there you see the character of God coming through, filled with unfailing love and faithfulness to 1,000 generations. We have seen his glory, the glory of the Father's one and only Son. John testified about him when he shouted to the crowds, "This is the one I was talking about when I said, 'Someone is coming after me who is far greater than I am, for he existed long before me.' From his abundance we will all receive one gracious blessing after another, for the law was given through Moses, but God's unfailing love and faithfulness came through Jesus Christ. No one has ever seen God but the unique one who is God himself, But the unique one, who is himself God, is near to the Father's heart. He has revealed God to us. You guys remember diagramming sentences? Back a long time ago?
Yeah.
Check this sentence out. Check this sentence out, y'all. But the unique one, so first you start with a what's it called? A conjunction. But the unique one, who is himself God, is near to the Father's heart. This unique person who is God is near to God and is God, is near to God and is God, and is near God and is God, and told us about God. And he is God, but he's also near to God. This unique one.
Okay.
All right, there's some mystery here. I'm not claiming to understand it, but look at it. Jesus is God and near to God, and tells us about God and brings us to God and makes us holy that we can be in God's presence without melting away. Forgives us of our sins so that we can go boldly into the throne room before God and ask for forgiveness of sins. Yeah? That's the bridge. All right? So without the divinity of Christ, we have no bridge. We have no mediator between God and man. We just have a really good man.
We got the rope in the bell.
Say it again?
We got the rope in the bell.
Yeah. It's important that you understand the divinity of Christ, that Jesus and God are one, so that you understand that what he taught, what he did, how he acted, how he behaved, how he lived, were by the authority of God. They're not made up. They're not good ideas. They're not some flashy self-help approach. It's God living through Jesus. Jesus and God are one. Okay, that's what you're seeing there. He brings us, he makes it possible for us to go before God in the throne room. Hey, let's go check out the throne room. Revelations chapter 4. This may be the only time you ever hear me teach anything from Revelations.
Oh, man.
Revelation chapter 4. Revelation. Who's the revelator?
John.
John. Same John we're reading from, by the way.
John the Baptist.
He wrote John and he wrote Revelations. Poor John on Patmos. Lingered behind all the others.
There's that beach I was telling you about earlier.
What is it to you if I want John to stay until he sees me returning? Here's John seeing a vision of Jesus, or seeing Jesus in actuality. I'm not really sure how it works. It's above my head. But John is caught up to heaven to see something, and then to have the horrible job of trying to describe what he saw. Okay, so when you read Revelations, it's not about the future, it's about Jesus. Right? It's a revelation of Jesus, not a revelation of the future. The second thing is, he's just trying to write down what he saw. So there's some things you'll read in Revelation and you'll just think, what are you talking about?
Especially the
Right?
angels.
What on earth are you... We're not even going to get into it, but if you've ever dipped into Revelations, it's like, okay, how do I back out of this one? Beep, beep, beep.
Oh.
I've made a wrong turn somewhere. I mean, you should read it, right? But you're going to have to ask the Holy Spirit to give you wisdom on it. And there's all kinds of crazy theories out there on what any of it means. All right, we'll get out of that rabbit hole. Revelation chapter 4. Then as I, John, looked, I saw a door standing open in heaven. That shouldn't be there. It's the door open in heaven. And the same voice I had heard before spoke to me like a trumpet blast. The voice said, "Come up here, and I will show you what must happen after this." So there's some things that have happened previously we're not going to get into. Instantly I was in the Spirit, and I saw a throne in heaven, and someone sitting on it. Let's just talk about the word someone. It's hilarious to me. Someone? What do you mean someone? Just so vague. Like, here's the throne of heaven, and someone, question mark, sitting on it. All right, what's this someone look like? The one sitting on the throne was as brilliant as gemstones, like jasper and carnelian, and the glow of an emerald circled his throne like a rainbow. I think we just sang about this, Amber.
Yeah.
You ready?
So what does this someone look like? Like a light show, I guess.
Right.
He's bright, and he looks like different gemstones. Who's that? Any guesses who that is on the throne that looks like a light? It's God. Good guess, thanks. That's God. That's right. 24 thrones surrounded him. So you got one throne in the middle and 24 thrones around him. And 24 elders sat on those thrones. They were all clothed in white and had gold crowns on their heads. From the throne came flashes of lightning and the rumble of thunder. That's uncomfortable. And in front of the throne were 7 torches with burning flames. This is the sevenfold Spirit of God. In front of the throne was a shiny sea of glass, sparkling like crystal. Aren't you building this picture up in your mind? One throne in the middle, colored light show sitting on it. Flashes of lightning come out of that throne. There's 24 thrones around them with dudes in white wearing gold crowns. And there's a sea of glass. So I don't know what that looks like, but sparkling like crystal all around. Just light. Can't see anything. Just light. So what on earth did he see? That's what came out. That's what he had to write down. It's like, close enough. Sea of glass. Explain what you're seeing. Sea of glass? Like we're not talking about like in the modern day there's like special effects and maybe we have more nuanced language for what you might see, sparkles and all this, but sea of glass. In the center and around the throne were 4 living creatures, each covered with eyes, front and back. That's uncomfortable. The first of these living beings was like a lion, the second was like an ox, the third had a human face, and the fourth was like an eagle in flight. Each of these living beings had 6 wings. I don't even know how you fly with 6 wings. And the wings were covered all over with eyes as well, inside and out. You got armpits full of eyes here. You got eyes for days. Day after day and night after night, they kept on saying, "Holy, holy, holy is the Lord God, the Almighty, the one who always was, who is, and who is still to come." Whenever the living beings gave glory and honor and thanks to the one sitting on the throne, the one who lives forever and ever, the 24 elders fall down and worship the one sitting on the throne, the one who lives forever and ever, and they lay their crowns before the throne and say, "You are worthy, O Lord our God, to receive glory and honor and power. For you created all things, and they exist because of you, because you created what you pleased." That's God the Father sitting on his throne, or at least an image of it. That's the best human understanding of what it looks like to peek into heaven and then try to write down what was seen. Yeah?
I'm sorry.
Go ahead. What do you got? We just sang it, I know.
We just sang it.
I know.
We didn't plan that. That's
No.
crazy.
I was kind of enjoying it while we were singing
That
it.
is freaking crazy.
Yeah,
And we haven't sang that song in months.
Months.
I hadn't heard it in forever. So funny.
Golly, that's crazy.
All right, here comes something new in heaven. Chapter 5. Then I saw a scroll in the right hand of the one who was sitting on the throne. There was writing on the inside and the outside of the scroll, and it was sealed with 7 seals. And I saw a strong angel who shouted with a loud voice, "Who is worthy to break the seals on this scroll and open it?" But no one in heaven or on earth or under the earth was able to open the scroll and read it. Kind of like a sword in the stone moment. We're looking for anyone who can open this scroll. Then I began to weep bitterly because no one was found worthy to open the scroll and read it. But one of the 24 elders, this is uncomfortable, like one of those dudes in white with the gold crowns, he looks down and makes eye contact. Stop weeping. Hey, you, what are you even doing here? Stop weeping. Look, the Lion of the tribe of Judah, the heir to David's throne, has won the victory. Who's that?
Jesus.
That's Jesus. That's Jesus. He has won the victory. He is worthy to open the scroll and its 7 seals. And then I saw a lamb that looked as if it had been slaughtered. But it was now standing between the throne and the 4 living beings, like where the lightning and flashes of thunder, or, sorry, that's wrong, thunder and flashes of lightning are. That's where he's standing. Between the throne and the 4 living beings, surrounded by the other 24 and the elders in the sea of glass, right? He had 7 horns and 7 eyes, this lamb. 7 horns and 7 eyes. which represent the sevenfold Spirit of God. Up there with the 7 lampstands, which represent the sevenfold Spirit of God. So if you're wondering where God the Father, God the Son, and God the Holy Spirit are, it's a light show, a lampstand, and a slaughtered lamb with 7 eyes and 7 horns. All right? I don't know what it is that John saw. Right? It's almost like you're a 2-dimensional creature trying to look at a 3-dimensional world and trying to make sense of it. That is the best analogy I could give you. I don't think he knew what he was looking at. He was just trying to put into words and put on paper what it was that he saw. Which should give you some hope, because if he was able to describe it accurately, you might doubt that it was real. Right? This is a man peeking into heaven and writing it down. So here is Jesus, some description in heavenly language, or a heavenly vision of Jesus as a slaughtered lamb. What does a slaughtered lamb look like? Bloody. That's good enough. Bloody. He had 7 horns and 7 eyes, which represent the sevenfold Spirit of God that is sent out into every part of the earth. That Spirit of God is sent out into every part of the earth. So this is after Jesus rose again, by the way. He stepped forward and took the scroll from the right hand of the one sitting on the throne. So Jesus can reach out and take something from God. That's interesting. And when he took the scroll, the 4 living beings and the 24 elders fell down before the Lamb. Each one had a harp, and they held gold bowls filled with incense, which are the prayers of God's people. And they sang a new song with these words: "You are worthy to take the scroll and break its seals and open it. For you were slaughtered, and your blood has ransomed people for God from every tribe and language and people and nation. And you have caused them to become a kingdom of priests for our God, and they will reign on the earth." Then I looked again, and I heard the voices of thousands and millions of angels around the throne, and of the living beings and the elders, and they sang in a mighty chorus, "Worthy is the Lamb who was slaughtered, to receive power and riches and wisdom and strength and honor and glory and blessing." And then I heard every creature in heaven and on earth and under the earth and in the sea, and you and me, and they sang, "Blessing and honor and glory and power belong to the one sitting on the throne and to the Lamb forever and ever." And the 4 living beings said, "Amen." And the 24 elders fell down and worshipped the Lamb. Worship of Jesus is sanctified in heaven, written down in Scripture. No one should be worshipped except God alone. Jesus, the Lamb, is God. So I don't know if that's a crazy picture in your mind or not, but I'll just submit this to you. There's the bloody lamb, and here's the light show on the throne. Yeah? You have the picture of God's character displayed in love, having sacrificed himself to bring people to God, and in holiness. God sitting on the throne, you can't see him, and no one's worthy to open his scroll except for Jesus. Okay? So both of those ideas are there. Just pointing that out. Just pointing that out. So, Jesus is the bridge. Jesus is the one who can mediate between God and man because he is 100% God and man. All right? I'm going to give you a few more scriptures where Jesus displays his divinity, or the divinity of Jesus is shown, where we realize that he's not just a man, that he is in fact God, and where that is shown to the world and how the world responds to it. And then I'm going to show you, we're going to go through 4 chapters in John, which will take a little bit, but we're going to read pretty quick through it, where you'll see how the divinity of Christ is displayed to his disciples. So we want to see, how does the world react to the fact that Jesus is God and one with God, and how do the disciples react when we see that Jesus is one with God? That's what we're going to read through. All right, first one, back to John. Back to John, chapter 5, verse 16. Jesus healed somebody on the Sabbath. The religious leaders got really angry at this because you're not supposed to work on the Sabbath, even though they do circumcision on the Sabbath when the 8th day falls on the Sabbath. They looked at Jesus doing work on the Sabbath and healing somebody as sinful. So the Jewish leaders began harassing Jesus for breaking the Sabbath rules, but Jesus replied, "My Father is always working, and so am I." So the Jewish leaders tried all the harder to find a way to kill him, for he not only broke the Sabbath, he called God his Father, thereby making himself equal with God. So Jesus explained, "I tell you the truth, the Son can do nothing by himself. He does only what he sees the Father doing. Whatever the Father does, the Son also does. For the Father loves the Son and shows him everything he is doing. In fact, the Father will show him how to do even greater works than healing this man. Then you will be truly astonished." Okay, so there's one example. When the Jewish leaders see Jesus claiming to be God or the Son of God or equal with God, their immediate reaction is what? Time to kill him. Time to kill him. All right, let's go to John chapter 6. Look at another one. John chapter 6, verse 26. This is after Jesus fed the 5,000. And he moved across the lake, and the crowds followed him and were waiting for him in the morning to show up. And Jesus tells the crowd, he says, "I tell you the truth, you want to be with me because I fed you, not because you understood the miraculous signs. But don't be so concerned about perishable things like food. Spend your energy seeking the eternal life that the Son of Man can give you, for God the Father has given me the seal of his approval." They replied, "We want to perform God's works too. What should we do?" Jesus told them, "This is the only work God wants from you. Believe in the one he has sent." Man, isn't that easy? You need to write that on your heart somewhere. What does God want you to do?
Just believe.
Just believe in the one he has sent.
But not even just. Believe.
Believe. But everything is wrapped up in that. To believe in the one he has sent means you need to know something about the one he sent and how that person lived. By the way, guys, that's what we're talking about. Jesus' humanity and Jesus' divinity displayed in how he lived, so that you can understand that you're called to live as he lived. That's what it means to be a Christian, is to follow Christ. Right? To believe that he is who he said he was, that he has the authority of God, and that he came into humanity, so that when you look at him, you don't think, "Oh, he's just a superhero and I can never live up to that." You recognize that the way that he lived, he has made that lifestyle available to you to be able to copy. Right? It requires that he deal with the sin issue, that you're born again and the new spiritual man is made alive, that you're filled with the Holy Spirit, and the Spirit can do his refining work in you. All those things are gifts. You don't have to come up with it. You don't have to work hard and strain and strive. He gives you everything necessary for life and godliness. Right? He gives you all the stuff that you need to be able to take on this life. That's what it means when you eat the bread and the wine, by the way. You're taking on the body and blood, the life of Christ. It's becoming part of you. Your life is dying. His life is growing up and being made manifest through you. So there's a lot that goes into just believing. But if you can start with believing, all of that will follow. Because he doesn't leave you alone. If you believe, he's got you now. He's got you. He's gonna pull you in and change you. This is the only work God wants from you. Believe in the one he sent. Okay, keep going. They answered, "Show us the miraculous sign if you want us to believe in you. What can you do? Come on, Jesus, prove it. If you are who you say you are, prove it." After all, our ancestors ate manna while they journeyed through the wilderness. The scriptures say Moses gave them bread from heaven. What's your big miracle, Jesus? Jesus said, "I tell you the truth. Moses didn't give you bread from heaven. My Father did. And now he offers you the true bread from heaven. The true bread of God is the one who comes down from heaven and gives life to the world." "Sir," they replied, "give us that bread every day." Give us this day our daily bread. Give us that bread every day. Jesus replied, "I am the bread of life. Whoever comes to me will never be hungry again. Whoever believes in me will never be thirsty." So this is a second example of the divinity of Jesus. He is that which comes down for our sake. It's difficult, isn't it? Like he came down and then entered into flesh. And so he is God with us. He is both God and with us. He is both God and man. All right? Third, and you see they're just confused. Like I was tempted to read further on down here where we get into the conversation about everyone sort of going away thinking that Jesus is some kind of weird zombie creep because he's asking everybody to like eat his body and drink his blood, and everyone's kind of wigging out. Right? And we understand what that means through spiritual eyes, but they didn't. They were just like, "Oh, gross! I don't want to be a part of this religion. Where's the exit?" Confusion. And then John. It's like the guy likes the book of John. John chapter 8, verse 12. This is after the woman caught in adultery, where they tried to stone her. Jesus spoke to the people once more and said, "I am the light of the world. If you follow me, you won't have to walk in darkness because you will have the light that leads to life." The Pharisees replied, "You are making those claims about yourself. Such testimony is not valid." Pharisees, by the way, are kind of like one of the prevailing groups of Judaism at the time. They had their set of doctrine and they thought they had it all figured out and lined up to the T. And if you didn't sort of fall in line with what they were saying, they were going to challenge you. They were the religious authority. And man, they love to argue and debate. They love to argue and debate. That's what they do. And so when you see Pharisees with Jesus, 99% of the time, you're going to see a conflict and a fight and an argument. That's what we're going to get into. So Jesus claims to be the light, and they say, "No, you're talking about yourself too much." Jesus told them, "These claims are valid even though I make them about myself, for I know where I came from and where I am going. But you don't know this about me. You judge by human standards, but I do not judge anyone. Though if I did judge, my judgment would be correct in every respect because I am not alone. The Father who sent me is with me. Your own law says that if two people agree about something, their witness is accepted as fact. I am one witness, and my Father who sent me is the other." I love it.
Smart aleck.
"Where is your father?" they ask. This father that you keep claiming, where is the guy? Jesus answered, "Since you don't know who I am, you don't know who my Father is. If you knew me, you would also know my Father." Jesus made these statements while he was teaching in the section of the temple known as the treasury, but he was not arrested because his time had not yet come. Later, Jesus said to them again, "I am going away. You will search for me, but will die in your sin. You cannot come where I am going." The people asked, "Is he planning to commit suicide? What does he mean you cannot come where I am going?" Jesus continued, You are from below, and I am from above. You belong to this world, I do not. That is why I said that you will die in your sins, for unless you believe that I am who I claim to be, you will die in your sins." "Who the heck are you?" they demanded. Jesus replied, "The one I have always claimed to be. I have much to say about you and much to condemn, but I won't, for I say only what I have heard from the one who sent me, and he is completely truthful." But they still didn't understand what he was talking about, that he was talking about his Father. So Jesus said, "When you have lifted up the Son of Man on the cross, then you will understand that I am he. I do nothing on my own, but say only what the Father taught me, and the one who sent me is with me. He has not deserted me, for I always do what pleases him." Then many who heard him say these things believed in him. He converted some on that one. Jesus said to the people who believed in him, "You are truly my disciples if you remain faithful to my teachings, and you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free." "But we are descendants of Abraham," they said. "We have never been slaves to anyone. What do you mean you will set us free?" Jesus replied, "I tell you the truth. Everyone who sins is a slave of sin. A slave is not a permanent member of the family, but a son is a part of the family forever. So if the Son sets you free, you are truly free. Yes, I realize that you are descendants of Abraham, and yet some of you are trying to kill me because there is no room in your hearts for my message. I am telling you what I saw when I was with the Father, but you are following the advice of your father." "Our father is Abraham," they declared. "No," Jesus replied, "for if you were really the children of Abraham, you would follow his example. Instead, you are trying to kill me because I told you the truth, which I heard from God. Abraham never did such a thing. No, you are imitating your real father." Who's their real father? They replied, we aren't illegitimate children. God himself is our true father." Jesus replied, If God were your Father, you would love me because I have come to you from God. I'm not here on my own, but he sent me. Why can't you understand what I am saying? It's because you can't even hear me. For you are the children of your father, the devil. Mic drop. And you love to do the evil things that he does. He was a murderer from the beginning. He has always hated the truth because there is no truth in him. When he lies, it is consistent with his character, for he is a liar and the father of lies. So when I tell you the truth, you just naturally don't believe me. Which of you can truthfully accuse me of sin? And since I am telling you the truth, why don't you believe me? Anyone who belongs to God listens gladly to the words of God, but you don't listen because you don't belong to God. The people retorted, "You Samaritan devil, didn't we say all along that you were possessed by a demon?" "No," Jesus said, "I have no demon in me, for I honor my Father, and you dishonor me. And though I have no wish to glorify myself, God is going to glorify me. He is the true judge. I tell you the truth, anyone who obeys my teaching will never die." The people said, "Now we know you are possessed by a demon. Even Abraham and the prophets died, but you say anyone who obeys my teaching will never die. Are you greater than our father Abraham? He died and so did the prophets. Who do you think you are?" Jesus answered, "If I want glory for myself, it doesn't count. But it is my Father who will glorify me. You say he is our God, but you don't even know him. I know him. If I said otherwise, I would be as great a liar as you. But I do know him and obey him. Your father Abraham rejoiced as he looked forward to my coming. He saw it and was glad." The people said, "You aren't even 50 years old. How can you say that you have seen Abraham?" And Jesus answered, "I tell you the truth. Before Abraham was even born, I am." At that point, they picked up stones to throw at him. But Jesus was hidden from them and left the temple. So again, the reaction: confusion, anger, murderous intent. This man claiming to be God. His people did not recognize that he was God, that the world that he created, and he came into the very world that he created, and he wasn't recognized. He came to his own people, and they rejected him. I love that statement, "Before Abraham was even born, I am." It reflects when Moses was talking to the burning bush, and he says, "Lord, when Pharaoh asks who sent me, what should I tell him?" He says, "Tell him, I am sent you. I am that I am." Right? He is the I am. And here Jesus says, "I tell you the truth, before Abraham was even born, I am." And you wonder why they picked up stones to stone him. He's claiming to be God. So here's another scripture of Jesus' divinity showing forth. The world does not understand it. The world cannot accept it. That's enough of that. We're now going to move into Jesus showing his character, his divinity, love, and holiness to his own disciples. And that will be the rest of what we read through. It's going to be a little bit long, but we're going to make it through. John chapter 13 is where we're starting. So much in the book of John. John 13. See, I think we have it backwards. We look at the miracles that Jesus does and says, "Oh, that's the God part." And we look at his character and say, "Oh, that's like the humanitarian part. That's the human part." It's exactly reversed. Right? The miracles that he did by the Holy Spirit as a man. He gives you that same Holy Spirit and gives you the same spiritual gifts as men. Mm-hmm. The God part of him doesn't need to lean on the Holy Spirit. The man part of him needs to lean on the Holy Spirit. The God part of him is seen in his character. This is what no other man is like. Okay, that's what we're going to read about. Before the Passover celebration, Jesus knew that his hour had come to leave this world and return to his Father. He had loved his disciples during his ministry on earth, and now he loved them to the very end. It was time for supper, and the devil had already prompted Judas, son of Simon Iscariot, to betray Jesus. Jesus knew that the Father had given him authority over everything, and that he had come from God and would return to God. So he got up from the table, took off his robe, wrapped a towel around his waist, and poured water into a basin. Then he began to wash the disciples' feet, drying them with the towel he had around him. That is the divinity of Christ. That is God shining through Christ. It's not the miracles. It's the getting down and washing the feet. I will lavish unfailing love to 1,000 generations. Right? The only thing that we can conclude is that God, despite being a shining, brilliant, jasper, carnelian light show on the throne in heaven, has humility somehow. Because when he, to take his own punishment on behalf of humanity through his son / himself in the person of Christ, he lives like this to show you the heart of God. He does this kind of thing, laying down his life and getting down and washing his disciples' feet. You're looking at the nature of God. When you see Jesus on his knees with the basin and the towel, I know you don't understand why I'm harping on this, but that's okay. When you see that image, you're looking at the heart of God. You're not looking at the humanity of Jesus. You're looking at the divinity of Jesus. Go ahead.
It's kind of like God knew that Jesus was going to die for our sins. I mean, that's something he didn't even have to do. Like you said, it's just taking it like, I'm going to do this just because I love you just because.
Before the foundations of the world, Christ was crucified. This was all known ahead of time. All right, he began to wash the disciples' feet, drying them with the towel he had around him. Now here comes Simon Peter, one of the disciples. And again, just because they're disciples doesn't mean that they get it. Simon Peter didn't get it a lot. That's why I love him. Like, if you ever wonder if your doctrine has to be exactly right to be accepted by God, just look at Simon Peter. Every time he opens his mouth.
But God, I am Peter.
Oh, you're not going to get up there and die? Get behind me, Satan. Wrong, Peter. And yet, Peter was the one who, when Jesus asked, who do men say that I am, or who do you say that I am? Peter's the one that says, you're the Messiah, you're the Son of the living God. And Jesus says, on that rock I will build my church. That truth is foundational. All right, let's get through this. Jesus replied, you don't understand now what I'm doing, but someday you will. No, Peter protested, you will never ever wash my feet. Jesus replied, unless I wash you, you won't belong to me. Ooh. Simon Peter exclaimed, then wash my hands and my head as well, Lord, not just my feet. Jesus replied, a person who has bathed all over does not need to wash except for the feet to be entirely clean. And you disciples are clean, but not all of you. For Jesus knew who would betray him. That is what he meant when he said, not all of you are clean. After washing their feet, he put on his robe again and sat down and asked, do you understand what I was doing? And man, I wish you'd hear that question for yourself. When you understand what it is that how God has blessed your life and what he's put into you and what he's doing for you, the servanthood of God. Do you understand what I was doing? Like, if God comes down and washes your feet, how ought you to live? Christians who follow God? If God stoops down to wash your feet, what should you be doing with your life? It says, you call me teacher and Lord, and you are right, because that's what I am. And since I, your Lord and teacher, have washed your feet, you ought to wash each other's feet. I have given you an example to follow. Do as I have done to you. I tell you the truth, slaves are not greater than their master. You guys are not greater than God. If God comes down and washes your feet, it's like when, y'all remember the old movie, The King and I? Anybody ever see The King and I? Is that what it's called? Nobody knows what I'm talking about? That's weird. Well, anyways, it's set in like Siam, and there's a British lady who's learning how they live in their culture or whatever. Anyways, the king bows, and the rule is you had to bow lower than the king. You always had to be lower than the king. So if the king bowed, you had to bow. If he sat, you had to sit. And if he laid down, you had to lay down. And so there's this really hilarious scene where the king is like messing with this British lady to see if she's going to follow the custom. And he gets her like to lay all the way down, and it's just hilarious. But that's what this is. If God comes down and does this, well, you better go at least that low. Yeah? Because you're not greater than the master. The messenger is not more important than the one who sends the message. Now that you know these things, God will bless you for doing them. I'm not saying these things to all of you. I know the ones I have chosen, but this fulfills the scripture that says, the one who eats my food has turned against me. I tell you this beforehand so that when it happens, you will believe that I am the Messiah. I tell you the truth. Anyone who welcomes my messenger is welcoming me, and anyone who welcomes me is welcoming the Father who sent me. Now Jesus was deeply troubled, and he exclaimed, I tell you the truth, one of you will betray me. The disciples looked at each other, wondering whom he could mean. The disciple Jesus loved. Does anybody know who the disciple Jesus loved?
God.
It's like, that's not a fair title, is it? Notice who wrote this book.
God.
It's just hilarious to me.
I didn't say it.
It's like, you could have just said, Jesus turned next to John, but he's like, Jesus was sitting next, what does it say?
God, Jesus loved.
John. It should have said, John was sitting next to Jesus at the table. but what it does say is the disciple Jesus loved was sitting next to the table. You don't get his name, so it looks like humility, but Jesus loves him, so it's like a boost.
Attaboy.
That's just funny to me. Simon Peter motioned to John to ask, who's he talking about? So John leaned over to Jesus and asked, well, Lord, who is it? And Jesus responded, it is the one whom I give the bread I dip into the bowl. And when he had dipped it, he gave it to Judas, son of Simon Iscariot. Everyone knows Judas Iscariot betrayed Jesus. When Judas had eaten the bread, Satan entered into him. Then Jesus told him, hurry and do what you're going to do. And I kind of imagine that Jesus is not talking to Simon Iscariot in that moment. None of the others at the table knew what Jesus meant. Since Judas was their treasurer, some thought Jesus was telling him to go and pay for the food or to give some money to the poor. So Judas left at once, going out into the night. A little word of warning about handling the church's finances. Didn't work out so well for Judas Iscariot. As soon as Judas left the room, Jesus said, the time has come for the Son of Man, that's what Jesus referred to himself as, Son of Man and Son of God, fully man, fully God. It's time for the Son of Man to enter into his glory, and God will be glorified because of him. Since God receives glory because of the Son, he will give his own glory to the Son, and he will do so at once. Dear children, I will be with you only a little while longer. And as I told the Jewish leaders, you will search for me, but you can't come where I am going. So now I'm giving you a new commandment. Love each other. Just as I have loved you, you should love each other. Your love for one another will prove to the world that you are my disciples. Isn't it funny? The miracles aren't what convinces people. It's our love for one another that convinces the world of who we are and who we're following and what he's really about. It's the character and the divinity of God that comes through that is actually convincing to the world. Not the miracles, not the power. It's the love. The love is what convinces. Simon Peter asked, Lord, where are you going? And Jesus replied, you can't go with me now, but you will follow me later. But why can't I come now, Lord? He asked. I'm ready to die for you. Jesus answered, die for me. I tell you the truth, Peter, before the rooster crows tomorrow morning, you will deny me 3 times. You'll deny that you even knew me. Ooh. Don't let your hearts be troubled. Trust in God and trust also in me. There is more than enough room in my Father's home. If this were not so, would I have told you that I am going to prepare a place for you? When everything is ready, I will come and get you so that you will always be with me where I am, and you know the way to where I am going. Here comes doubting Thomas. No, we don't. We have no idea where you're going, so how can we know the way? Wait. I hear maybe Piglet's voice there. Jesus told him, I am the way. You know the way. I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one can come to the Father except through me. He's the bridge. If you had really known me, you would know who my Father is. From now on, you do know him and have seen him, because if you've seen Jesus, you've seen the Father. If you've seen Jesus' life, you've seen what the heart of God is like. Philip said, Lord, show us the Father, and we will be satisfied. And Jesus replied, have I been with you all this time, Philip, and yet you still don't know who I am? Anyone who has seen me has seen the Father. So why are you asking me to show him to you? Don't you believe that I am in the Father, and the Father is in me? The words I speak are not my own, but my Father who lives in me does his work through me. Just believe that I am in the Father, and the Father is in me, or at least believe because of the work you've seen me do. I tell you the truth, anyone who believes in me will do the same works I have done, and even greater works. Greater works? Greater works? We can do greater works? People who believe in Jesus can do greater works than Jesus? Are there greater works than Jesus did? Well, you're in a real tough spot now, church.
Right?
These are red letters.
Yeah.
What are you going to do? Can you do greater works than Jesus? Yes or no?
Yes.
That's what it says. Why?
Because he's going to the Father.
Because the works are done by the Holy Spirit through men and women. Sorry, Amber. And women. That's part of his humanity, guys. The miracles come through his humanity. Living like Jesus is available to you because he gives you everything that he had. You can do greater works because I'm going to be with the Father. You can ask for anything in my name and I will do it so that the Son can bring glory to the Father. You ask me for anything in my name and I will do it. If you love me, obey my commandments, and I will ask the Father and he will give you another advocate. Who's that?
Holy Spirit.
He will never leave you. He is the Holy Spirit who leads to all truth. The world cannot receive him because it isn't looking for him and doesn't recognize him. But you know him because he lives with you now and later will be in you. With you and in you. We'll talk about that someday. No, I will not abandon you as orphans. I will come to you. Soon the world will no longer see me, but you will see me. Since I live, you also will live. When I am raised to life again, you will know that I am in the Father and you are in me and I am in you. Those who accept my commandments and obey them are the ones who love me. And because they love me, my Father will love them. And I will love them and reveal myself to each of them. Judas, not Judas Iscariot, but the other disciple with that name, said to him, Lord, why are you going to reveal yourself only to us and not to the world at large? You got to remember, these guys don't have the Bible that you guys are reading right now. They're in a room somewhere. Like, it's 11 disciples and one Jesus, and Judas Iscariot's down the road. Yep. And Jesus is laying some pretty heavy stuff about who he really is. And they're like, what about the world? And they don't realize that they themselves are going to give testimony about what they've seen and heard. Some of it they went around speaking. Some of it they wrote letters to churches, one another. Some of those letters got pulled together into a canon of Scripture, which you're now reading. It's why you have a Bible. Jesus replied, all who love me will do what I say. My Father will love them, and we will come and make our home with each of them. So Jesus isn't worried that the whole world isn't going to find out what he said in this moment. And indeed, the world has found out what he said in this moment. We're reading it. Anyone who doesn't love me will not obey me. And remember, my words are not my own. What I am telling you is from the Father who sent me. I am telling you these things now while I am still with you. But when the Father sends the advocate as my representative, that is the Holy Spirit, he will teach you everything and will remind you of everything I have told you. I am leaving you with a gift, peace of mind and heart. And the peace I give is a gift the world cannot give. So don't be troubled or afraid. Remember what I told you. I'm going away, but I will come back to you again. If you really loved me, you would be happy that I am going to the Father, who is greater than I am. I have told you these things before they happen, so that when they do happen, you will believe. I don't have much more time to talk to you, because the ruler of this world, you asked that question last week, Amber. Satan's the ruler of this world until Jesus overcomes. He has no power over me, but I will do what the Father requires of me so that the world will know that I love the Father. So that the world will know that I love all men. No. So that the world will know I love the Father. Jesus' focus was on the Father. His relationship was with the Father. His obedience was to the Father. His words were from the Father. His teaching was from the Father. The miracles he did were from the Father. He got up on that cross and did not think of you. He thought of his Father. And wanted to know why his Father had abandoned him. I am the true grapevine, and my Father is the gardener. He cuts off every branch of mine that doesn't produce fruit, and he prunes the branches that do bear fruit so that they will produce even more. Just take a side note here. The branches that are cut off, that didn't do right, they get cut. And the branches that produce fruit, they get cut. Everybody gets cut. Everybody gets cut. Just a side note. If you think that your Christian life is supposed to look like a mansion with 2 cars and 2.5 kids and a dog and a nice job and a nice retirement, you're wrong. Everybody gets cut. as God wills. He'll prune you. It's a good thing. If you yield to it, it's a good thing. He doesn't spare you the pain. He gives you his ability, he gives you his power and his grace to what's the word I want? He wanted to say flourish. Is the word flourish?
Persevere.
We'll take perseverance. I can't think of the word I was trying to say. You've already been pruned and purified by the message I have given you. Remain in me, and I will remain in you. For a branch cannot produce fruit if it is severed from the vine, and you cannot be fruitful unless you remain in me. Yes, I am the vine, you are the branches. Those who remain in me and I in them will produce much fruit, for apart from me you can do nothing. Anyone who does not remain in me is thrown away like a useless branch and withers. Such branches are gathered into a pile to be burned. But if you remain in me, and my words remain in you, you may ask for anything you want, and it will be granted. When you produce much fruit, you are my true disciples. This brings great glory to my Father. I have loved you even as the Father has loved me. Remain in my love. When you obey my commandments, you remain in my love, just as I obey my Father's commandments and remain in his love. I've told you these things so that you will be filled with my joy. Yes, your joy will overflow. This is my commandment. So, if you want to follow his commandments and love him and remain in him and produce fruit, you have to follow this commandment. Love each other. Love is both the commandment and how you love. Love each other in the same way that I have loved you. There is no greater love than to lay down one's life for one's friends. You are my friends if you do what I command. I no longer call you slaves because a master doesn't confide in his slaves. Now you are my friends, since I have told you everything the Father told me. You didn't choose me, I chose you. I appointed you to go and produce lasting fruit, so that the Father will give you whatever you ask for using my name. This is my command. Again, love each other. Love each other. Wash each other's feet. Love each other. Lay your life down for one another. Love each other. That's my command. If you love me, you'll obey my command. If you love me, you'll love each other. By the way, guys, God's love. If you're wondering where the divinity of Christ comes out. If the world hates you, remember that it hated me first. The world would love you as one of its own if you belong to it, but you are no longer part of this world. I chose you to come out of the world so that it hates you. Do you remember what I told you? A slave is not greater than the master. Since they persecuted me, naturally, they will persecute you. And if they listen to me, they would listen to you. They will do all this to you because of me, for they have rejected the one who sent me. They would not be guilty if I had not come and spoken to them, but now they have no excuse for their sin. Anyone who hates me also hates my Father. If I hadn't done such miraculous signs among them that no one else could do, they would not be guilty. But as it is, they have seen everything I did, yet they still hate me and my Father. This fulfills what is written in their scriptures. They hated me without cause. But I will send you the advocate. Who's that again?
Holy
The
Spirit.
Holy Spirit.
The Spirit of truth. He will come to you from the Father and will testify all about me, and you must also testify about me because you have been with me from the beginning of my ministry. I'm glad I did testify about him so that I could read this to you. I have told you these things so that you won't abandon your faith, for you will be expelled from the synagogues, and the time is coming. By the way, these were Jews that he's talking to. They went to synagogue, not church. Church hadn't started yet. The time is coming when those who kill you will think they are doing a holy service for God. That's Paul. Zealously killing Christians.
Yeah, right.
He thought he was doing a great job, too. He was awesome at it. This is... This is because they have never known the Father or me. Yes, I am telling you these things now so that when they happen, you will remember my warning. I didn't tell you earlier because I was going to be with you for a while longer. But now I am going away to the one who sent me, and not one of you is asking where I am going. Instead, you grieve because of what I've told you. But in fact, it is best for you that I go away, because if I don't, the advocate, who's that?
Holy Spirit.
Won't come. If I do go away, then I will send him to you, and when he comes, he will convict the world of its sin and of God's righteousness and of the coming judgment. The world's sin is that it refuses to believe in me. Righteousness is available because I go to the Father, and you will see me no more. Judgment will come because the ruler of this world has already been judged. There's so much more I want to tell you, but you can't bear it now. Same in this room. We're in lunchtime. We can't do any more. When the Spirit of truth comes, he will guide you into all truth. He will not speak on his own, but will tell you what he has heard. He will tell you about the future. He will bring me glory by telling you whatever he receives from me. All that belongs to the Father is mine. Why? Because he and the Father are one. That is why I said the Spirit will tell you whatever he receives from me. The Holy Spirit is going and getting truth and wisdom from Jesus for us. And Jesus' truth and wisdom he got from his Father. So it's like a conduit. We hear from the Holy Spirit, who heard from Jesus, who heard from God. Only when they do, what's that called? What's that game called where you tell a secret and pass it around?
So that ain't gospel.
What's that called?
Telephone.
Telephone? They're really good at it. In fact, they're perfect at it. In fact, the only time it messes up on telephone is
When it gets
the
done.
hearing on this end.
Yeah.
The communication in between, they have no problem with that. They're really, really good at it. In a little while, you won't see me anymore, but a little while after that, you will see me again. If you're wondering, I'm going all the way to the end of 17. Some of the disciples asked each other, what does he mean when he says, in a little while you won't see me, but then you will see me, and I am going to the Father? And what does he mean by a little while when we don't understand? So even the disciples don't get it, are confused. The humanity and divinity of Jesus are very confusing. What is he about? Why is he doing this? Jesus realized they wanted to ask him about it, so he said, are you asking yourselves what I meant? I said, in a little while you won't see me, but a little while after you will see me again. I tell you the truth, you will weep and mourn over what is going to happen to me, but the world will rejoice. Did all this come true, by the way? Did he disappear for a little bit and then show up again?
Yep.
Yeah. We've made a holiday out of it. It's called Easter.
Of course we have.
He talked about it before it happened. They still didn't get it. But they wrote this stuff down later and put it all together and pieced the puzzle together. You will grieve, but your grief will suddenly turn to wonderful joy. It will be like a woman suffering the pains of labor. When her child is born, her anguish gives way to joy because she has brought a new baby into the world. So you have sorrow now, but I will see you again. Then you will rejoice, and no one can rob you of that joy. At that time, you won't need to ask me for anything. I tell you the truth. You will ask the Father directly, and he will grant your request because you use my name. You haven't done this before. Ask using my name, and you will receive, and you will have abundant joy. I've spoken of these matters in figures of speech, but soon I will stop speaking figuratively and will tell you plainly about the Father. Then you will ask in my name. I'm not saying I will ask the Father on your behalf, for the Father himself loves you dearly because you love me and believe that I came from God. See, that's what Jesus does for us. He allows us to have an intimate relationship directly with God because he removes the barrier created by God's holiness and our lack of holiness. It's Jesus' love that steps in to pay for that and take care of that issue so that we can have an intimate relationship with a holy God. What it means is that you must become holy through the work of Christ. That's what that means. And his disciples said, at last you're speaking plainly and not figuratively. Now we understand that you know everything and there's no need to question you. And from this we believe finally that you came from God. Yay! The disciples made it.
Take 20 years.
20 years.
They get it. I'm not sure we do, but they got it. Jesus asked, do you finally believe? But the time is coming, indeed, it's here now, when you will be scattered. Each one is going his own way, leaving me alone. Yet I am not alone because the Father is with me. I've told you this so that you may have peace in me. Here on earth you will have many trials and sorrows, but take heart because I have overcome the world.
Woo.
Last chapter. After saying all these things, Jesus looked up to heaven and said, Father, the hour has come. Glorify your Son, so he can give the glory back to you. For you have given him authority over everyone. He gives eternal life to each one of you, each one you have given him. And this is the way to have eternal life, to know you, the only true God, and Jesus Christ, the one you sent to earth. I brought glory to you here on earth by completing the work you gave me to do. Now, Father, bring me into the world. Bring me into the glory we shared before the world began. So there's some divinity of Christ for you. He wants to go back to the Father to receive the glory that they used to share together before the world began. Jesus is God. I have revealed you to the ones you gave me from this world. They were always yours. You gave them to me, and they have kept your word. Now they know that everything I have is a gift from you, for I have passed on to them the message you gave me. They accepted it and know that I came from you, and they believe you sent me. My prayer is not for the world, but for those you have given me, because they belong to you. All who are mine belong to you, and you have given them to me, so they bring me glory. Now I am departing from the world. They are staying in this world, but I am coming to you. Holy Father, you have given me your name. Now protect them by the power of your name, so that they will be united just as we are. During my time here, I protected them by the power of the name you gave me. I guarded them so that no one was lost, except the one headed for destruction, so that, as the scriptures foretold. Now I am coming to you. I told them many things while I was with them in this world, so that they would be filled with joy. I have given them your word, and the world hates them because they do not belong to the world, just as I do not belong to the world. I'm not asking you to take them out of the world, but to keep them safe from the evil one. They do not belong to this world any more than I do. Make them holy by your truth. Teach them your word, which is truth. Just as you sent me into the world, I am sending them into the world. And I give myself as a holy sacrifice for them so they can be made holy by your truth. I am praying not only for these disciples, but also for all who will ever believe in me through their message. I pray that they will all be one, just as you and I are one. As you are in me, Father, and I am in you, and may they be in us, so that the world will believe you sent me. I've given them the glory you gave me, so they may be one as we are one. I am in them, and you are in me. May they experience such perfect unity that the world will know that you sent me, and that you love them as much as you love me. Father, I want these whom you have given me to be with me where I am. Then they can see all the glory you gave me because you loved me even before the world began. O righteous Father, the world doesn't know you, but I do, and these disciples know you sent me. I have revealed you to them, and I will continue to do so. Then your love for me will be in them, and I will be in them. And we'll stop there. So here's a great mystery, church. You can live the way that Jesus lived because he came as a man. You may not have the same calling that he had. You may not play the same role that he played. You may not be God. This is God that came down into flesh and didn't pretend flesh. He lived in flesh and felt flesh like you and I do. And so he understands flesh. He knows what it's like to be us. And yet was without sin and was holy. He is one with the Father. And he wants to be one with us. So the mystery is, what will it be like on the other side of this thing? When this world passes away and these achy, painful, boring, horrible bodies we walk around in are finally done with, and we get some really nice ones.
My God.
And we're one with Christ. The picture of the church is a bride. And there's going to be a great wedding feast and a great banquet. And not to get into anything weird, but the husband and the bride become one flesh. They become one. They're made into one. Right? That's not a mistake. That's the whole point, is that we're going to be one with Christ, and Christ is one with God. What does that mean?
We can enter his presence.
It's everything. It's everything. So part of the divinity of Christ isn't that we're going to be, there's some teachings out there that, you're going to be a god of your own planet or whatever. No. No. It's only one God. But the holiness of God that we have not been able to look at or touch or be near, it remains. And yet we will be made one with this because of what Christ did. All right, so that's the bridge. He can be a bridge because he's 100% God and he's 100% man. We can live the way that he lived because he didn't cheat. He didn't come as a superhero. If he came as a superhero, you've got no hope. You've got no hope. You can't live like him. And if he wasn't God, you have no hope because he has no authority. But if he is 100% God and lived in human flesh, then you have some real hope of being reconciled to God. Then he can actually be the bridge that we needed. He can be that bridge. He is that bridge. He is all those things. All right, that's it. Next time, we're going to talk about not just the bridge, but some of the various roles that Jesus played, some of the different things that he was. So we'll get into some of his miracles and giftings and titles and discuss more about the person of Jesus. We might know who he is and how he lived. I mean, if we're going to follow him, Christians, if we're going to be little Christs and follow him, we should study how he lived and become students of how he lived. Anybody know a word for students of how he lived? Disciples. That's right. Disciples. We could be disciples. That's the idea. Go and make disciples.
I think good for the crash course before church.
You got the teacher's notes.
But we kind of talked a little bit about the same thing in Facebook this morning, so.
Everybody's connected.
Yep.
We are, aren't we?
It's cool.
And not through the stupid mobile phones either. Not through the stupid mobile phones. All right, I love y'all. I hope you have a good week. Did you have
Yeah.
something you want to say?
What do y'all think about starting back at 10:30 again?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, y'all don't like going to 1 o'clock? I thought this was great.
I love it.
We can still go to 1 if y'all want to. I think we can start back at 10:30.
Yeah.
Someone needs to tell Chris to try to teach on less.
Start at 10:30.
Going back to the
Sorry, Chris, 30. I mean, 30 more minutes is not going to give us any more or any corona. So we'll start back at 10:30. And Thursday and Friday at 7, Refuge is going to host. I don't know if y'all saw the tent revival last weekend down on Steinmark Square, close to the casinos. It's a pastor, Jerry Waite from Alabama. We're going to host him coming here at 7 Thursday and Friday. It's not without a lot of prayer and consideration on my part and talking to him and just laying down the law and making sure that he is in the same boat with our doctrine. Y'all know how I feel about. He said he's non-denominational. He's more on Pentecostal lines. I just want to warn y'all, But as non-denominational people, we're accepting of all denominations. So I just want to let y'all know. But I've talked to him. He seems like a great guy, But I just have anyway. As the leader, as the person to make the final decision, I want to make sure that, he's in it for the right reasons, and I just pray about every person that comes here to our church that we make sure that they're here for the right reasons. And so anyway, so y'all pray about coming. It's going to be Thursday and Friday at 7. And so anyway, tell people about it. Of course, we're going to wear our mask and try to maintain social distancing and stuff like that.
Indeed clean.
We're gonna clean and stuff. What, Christy?
I've never been to a revival.
What?
Never been to a revival? They're gonna be doing the music and stuff, and but anyway.
Yes, Friday.
Y'all
Yeah,
come.
I get to school Friday because I get like.
They'll start at 7. But thank y'all so much.
Okay.
You wanna pray us out?
You asking me?
Do you want to?
Sure.
Okay.
Father, you're good and you love us. And we thank you for your kindness to us. Just want to declare your goodness and your kindness. You're patient, that you are true to your word, you're faithful, that you have poured out your loving kindness, your faithful love to generation after generation. What Jesus did when he came, Lord, is everything. And just thank you. We thank you for just words cannot express what it is that you've done. And Lord, I ask that you would continue to speak these truths into our hearts, that Lord, you would wake us up with them, that they would be in our minds when we fall asleep, that they would sprout and grow roots and grow fruit in our lives, that your word would, we would just be chewing and eating from this food and find nourishment in it. Lord, that you continue to pour out on us, that you continue to bless us with what you want to do and what you want to say and where you want to take us, Lord, and how you want to use us. I ask for each one here that, Father, that you would speak to their hearts, that you'd speak to their minds, that you'd speak to their ears, that you begin to and continue to reveal what you've called them to, what you've made them for, to each one, that you've given them giftings, that you've given them both human, natural giftings and spiritual giftings. And Father, we just ask that you would protect us and keep us and hem us in so that we don't drift, that we don't become dull of hearing and that we miss out on what it is that you're calling us to. Father, have your way in us. Have your way with this church and through us. And we just want to say yes to whatever it is on your heart that you want to do. And that you be glorified through that. Father, we pray for this man who's going to come Thursday and Friday. Lord, just ask that you would be all over it. Whatever you want to do, you would do. That you would protect us from anything that's not of you, but that everything that is of you would pour out generously on us for any who attend. Lord, I ask that you would meet the needs that are represented in this room, that for each one who asks using your name, just as you told your disciples, we ask in Jesus' name, you would meet the needs, that you would heal those who are suffering anything in their bodies, that you would pour out your peace and peace of mind and peace of heart on anyone who's troubled and anxious. You would be all in all to us. In Jesus' name, amen.
Like Amber said, we need everybody that can be here to help as far as like look after the church and stuff like that. So let's do this, body.
All right, who do you think 24 elders are?
What?
The 24 elders.
Who are they? I have no clue.
Because there's way too many. So you said Noah, Moses.
No, they don't fight at all.
She was gonna pick me up.
There's too many.
No idea.
Abraham, you know.
Go look at the heroes of faith listed in Hebrews and see if there's 24.
Didn't think of that.
Or it could be the 12 tribes and the 12.
I thought the heads of the tribes.
I don't know.
You know, I don't know. I've always wondered that. You know, the weird thing is that 1 o'clock this morning I was reading 4 and 5.
You were reading what?
I was reading Revelation 4 and 5.
Where are you?
Will you grab my mask? Yeah, the broken one. I'm tied up.
Elsa, come play with me.
You ain't get it.